Bitcoin have been correcting itself since April of last year. That's a total of 9-month correction. Now I do believe that we have finally come to the end of this correction 2 weeks ago, and now we are due for the next impulse that should end the whole cycle and achieve the new all-time high for Bitcoin. More on that coming next, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since I posted my last video, but as some of you may know, I've got COVID and I was in a really bad condition for a few weeks. Luckily, I've finally recovered and I'm good to go now. So please do me a favor, let me know in the comments below what kind of projects and coins should we be analyzing next, because so much has happened in the market since then. And now we'll look at Bitcoin. Let's see how the price is going to act and what should we be expecting next. Let's go. Now in the beginning, let's start talking about the structure. And I've said this over 2 months ago in my last Bitcoin video, which I will leave for you a link here at the top to go and see in details why this structure is incomplete. So basically, when everybody was saying that Bitcoin is crashing and it's going to go all the way to zero, I said that this is a 5-wave structure and there is no way that Bitcoin has reached its end, because this structure has yet one more impulse to go complete. Basically, 5-wave structures include 3 impulses and 2 corrections. Out of these ones, we already have 4. So the initial impulse has started at this point here. This was the first correction. This was the second impulse. And we have just now completed the second correction. Now what this means, it means that we still need to get one last impulse to the upside that's going to break the last high in order for this structure to be complete. Now if we go and take a look at the corrections of this structure, we can see that the initial correction was here at this point and it included 3 waves. Similarly, the second correction also started here and it also included 3 waves. So the first one was 1, 2, and 3. And the second one is also 1, 2, and 3. Now, to be honest, at the beginning, I did not think that this correction was going to extend this much. So my expectation was that the price is going to hit maybe this low at this point, and then the overall flat is going to be complete. So I was thinking something more like 1, 2, and 3, and then we continue going up from here. However, this got extended by a couple of extra weeks, which is still totally fine. This is still a correction. Now, if we take a look at the trend since its beginning, we can see that Bitcoin, despite all this drop in price, is still trending up. So if the cycle actually started here at this low, we have found the initial high here, and this was a higher low, and this was a higher high, and this was another higher low, this was a higher low, sorry, a higher high, and even after all this drop, this is still higher than the previous low. So the overall trend is still going up. And so this is an answer to everybody who keeps on saying that Bitcoin is crashing. No, Bitcoin is not crashing, because in order for this structure to be complete, we still need to see one last impulse to the upside in order for the overall cycle and the WXYXZ structure to be complete. Now, if we take a look at the weekly oscillator of Bitcoin, we can see that another reason here is that Bitcoin have finally become oversold on the weekly oscillator. And if we go back in history and look, we can see that every time Bitcoin was oversold, it was followed by a decent rally to the upside. So this was here, Bitcoin got oversold and we already achieved a new higher high. Similarly, we had one at this point, although we still dropped further, but it was followed by a rally because this was part of a bigger correction. Also, we had the same case here when Bitcoin reached its all-time low after the end of the last cycle, and the new cycle has started at this point. So every time Bitcoin was oversold, it was followed by a decent rally. Now, because we have already completed our three-wave correction here, so this rally is most likely going to go and break this last high over here. Now, if we go to the daily chart and see how the picture is looking over there, we can clearly see here that this piece of the downtrend has already ended, because the downtrend line, which was already formed over here, has been broken at this point. So this is the first confirmation of a trend reversal. However, the price is currently still struggling to break above this resistance area. This is the last resistance area that we had, and that Bitcoin has to be breaking in order for us to 100% confirm the new uptrend. Now, if we go to the 4 hours chart, we can clearly see here that this resistance area have been retested multiple times. First of all, at these points before it was broken down, it was retested many times here, and it was rejected once again after the price broke below it at this point. So Bitcoin is now struggling to break this resistance area in order to fully confirm the new uptrend. Now, the good news is that we are currently consolidating under this resistance area. In other words, we don't yet have any signs of rejection over here or anything that's telling us that the price would still be going down further from this point. From what I can see now, the price is forming a corrective flag that could eventually be broken, and we could see the price going above this resistance zone. But there are a couple of other options that we might be seeing here as well. So the price could still go in, let's say, a channel pattern. So we could see the price consolidate here for a while and continue going in some kind of channel up and down before it breaks up. We also have another possibility, and that one says that maybe the price will be forming a three-wave corrective flag that might go like this and then attempt to break out from this point over here. Now, in either one of these options, it doesn't matter which one we take, as long as the price remains under the resistance area and keeps consolidating in this zone. We are still on the safe side, and we will eventually break above this resistance in order to go and retest the previous all-time high here at about 69,000. But the important question, as always, remains: how far are we going to go as soon as we break the previous all-time high, and how long is this cycle going to be extending? Now, those of you who have been following my video know that I use a lot the Fibonacci extension levels, but today I decided to take a different approach and look at Bitcoin from a different perspective. So let's go to the next chart. This chart here is the Bitcoin logarithmic growth curves, or some people like to call it the regression bands. Now, this is from the beginning of Bitcoin since 2010-2011, and we can always see that Bitcoin have been following a certain pattern with these regression bands. So every time the cycle has reached its top, it has touched the upper side of the band, the orange ones. So this was the initial one in 2011, this was the cycle top in 2013, this was the last cycle in 2017. And every time the cycle has ended and reached its bottom, it has touched the lower part of the bands, as you can see here in all the cycles. Additionally, if we look at what happened in between the cycle, we can see that at each and every cycle, Bitcoin tends to consolidate or do some kind of correction at the center orange band of the regression bands. So you can see before the peak of the initial cycle, we had a corrective flat here. We also had a corrective flat on the 2013 cycle. Similarly, we had this corrective flat in 2017 cycle, and at this cycle we can see that the price is repeating the same behavior because it's consolidating around the middle band of the regression bands. So we can't be talking about the cycle top or the cycle end unless we see the price touching the upper part of the regression bands. Now, as we stand today, where the Bitcoin price, if we go and shoot in a straight line, which is never going to happen, but if that happens, the highest we could get to is going to be around 155,000. But since that's not the case and we'll never go on a straight line, so if we assume that Bitcoin is going to take few months, 2 or 3 or 4 months to reach its peak, we can see that we'll be looking at somewhere between 160 and 170,000. And the longer this extent, the higher the price would be. So ideally, as soon as the price starts getting near to the orange or the upper side of the bands, we can start looking at the end of this cycle, or assume that the cycle is about to end and will be going all the way down to the lower side of it. And of course, when that happens, we would have achieved a new all-time high for Bitcoin. At the same time, if we go back to the chart, we can see that if this happens and Bitcoin reaches its all-time high at around, let's say, 170,000, so at that time the overall structure for Bitcoin and for this cycle is going to be complete, and we'll have our 5-wave structure as you see it right now. So we have a lot of exciting times ahead. I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below and tell me what do you think, how far you think Bitcoin is going to go from here. Let me know your suggestion also about what next videos should I be doing. This was it for today, guys, and until next time, stay safe and see you later.